In 1980, Atari, the golden child of the first video game era, did two things. The first was the release of one of their most successful games, Adventure, and the second was pissing off Warren Robinett. You see, Atari had gotten acquired by Warner Communications around 4 years prior, and suddenly the suits from New York were very quick to discount the efforts of the laid-back Californian programmers. Their names weren't put in any credits, they received no royalties, and given the massive success of the games, they weren't really compensated for being leaders in this extremely niche field at the time. Most of the well-known Atari programmers quickly exited the company. However, one, a Mr. Robinett, would embed a secret into the game Adventure. A convoluted multi-step process that even the testers wouldn't find would lead to a room where, in flashing colors, the player would see "Created" by Warren Robinett. And now, no Atari employees actually caught the secret, but a 15-year-old kid from Salt Lake City? Yeah, he'd probably find it. He'd tell a few friends too, and 30 years later, Atari is a shell of its former self. But the concept of an Easter egg, a secret inside a video game, will be what Adventure is remembered for. What began as a subtle way to stick it to the money man upstairs would evolve rapidly. Easter eggs are massively popular. People love secrets, and in most popular video games today, you'll find everything from subtle nods to pop culture, to puzzles, to downright mysteries that take weeks to solve, and sometimes even transcend the game itself. These secrets go viral when in popular games. Things like Bungie's Destiny, featuring entire communities of people working together to find a new powerful exotic weapon, or the massively popular bunker secret on Warzone. These stories get picked up by major media publications, content creators, and become a core of a community for months. And this got me thinking. It's in the economic interest of online media, from magazines to YouTubers, to make clickable content. It's how they make their money for the most part. If there's a major secret in a popular game, you know they're going to cover it. Of course they are. They'd be fools not to. They'd be losing money. So, theoretically, if a massive corporation was to manufacture fun secret hunts, would that equate to free advertising? Would what started out so pure, as an attack on corporate America, 40 years later be used to fuel the very machine it was born to oppose? Actually, maybe I've gotten a bit too, tinfoil hatty. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Following Robinett's unique form of protest, developers over the years would continue to add secrets into their titles. However, quickly the intent of the Easter egg shifted. What was used as a way to bite back became a more subtle form of communication between developers and their players. References to pop culture or the development behind the scenes were the most common. I actually somewhat lied in the intro. There were hidden video game secrets before Adventure, they just weren't called Easter eggs. It actually seems like second nature for developers and software engineers to include these tiny references in things they make. Even in my earliest days of making JavaScript text adventures, I thought to add dumb over 9000 memes. Some early games had keywords to do certain things. Like Colossal Cave Adventure would show developers' names in a time period where credits don't exist. I think one of the coolest ones I saw was when another Atari developer, Ron Milner, coded a backdoor into the arcade game Starship 1 that, after some specific button presses, would show "Hi Ron" on screen and give you 10 free games, because fuck capitalism and all that. Over the years, we saw things such as dev rooms, inaccessible places where developers would go to do sort of debugging and testing, hidden levels, and perhaps the most known Easter egg, the Konami code. Up, down, down, left, right, BA, by the way. Originally used as a quick testing tool by developers for the NES game Gradius, this quickly found its way into many games, and other pieces of software too. Seriously, the list is massive, people really are into this one. Other notable Easter eggs include Psycho Mantis breaking the fourth wall and scanning your save files to tell you what other games you've been playing, or even the cow level in Diablo 2. However, as we approach the internet era, where a lot of secrets could be shared and discussed, there's one game that really springs to mind. Halo 3 was released in September 2007, and to this day is probably the most hype I've personally felt for a game. Its predecessors in the series had been using Easter eggs as a way to engage players for years, most notably the skulls in Halo 2. But I feel like the 2007 release took things a step further. For me personally, this was the first time I actually searched online for secrets. I got engaged with the community. I felt a part of the race to find all the Halo 3 skulls, and it's a very fond memory for me. I was just a kid at the time, but I do remember watching all these secret hunters on the Bungie forums nerd the fuck out as I looked on with awe at how they were figuring things out. And remember, these Easter eggs were actually pretty difficult to figure out. The weirdly named I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull in particular was leaked by someone actually having to dive into the code of the ISO of the game to figure it out. This was insane, but only recently actually have people figured out how to properly do it. And even then, I don't actually think they understand it fully. Overall, I could mark down Halo 3 as a turning point. Social media and going viral were concepts that were just beginning to grow and happen more and more. The game sold over 14 million copies, and had over 1 million players log into Xbox Live to play it within the first day. It was a critical and commercial success, and other companies were watching. Bungie had captured lightning in a bottle, and while hiding secrets was by no means a large part of that, it echoed the care and effort they put into the game. They didn't have to add Easter eggs in. They didn't have to add these fun little references. This game would grow to be one of the first where a lot of content was created surrounding the secrets. There are a lot of 4.3 standard dev video guides on YouTube. A ton of games magazines use the Easter eggs to drive traffic and get sales too. It was abundantly clear that this was popular content that drove engagement from fans. Suddenly, reviews and interviews were not the only content these publications would create. And over a decade later, we still see this trend exist in games media. So, that being said, where exactly would you place Easter eggs in the context of a wider marketing strategy? Okay, I'll go easy on the marketing theory here, but it does add some context. In general, there are many avenues you can go down when trying to get people to buy your thing, and not all of them are the direct buy our shit now style advertising. Usually it's a combination of many different approaches that give a company a well-rounded profile when trying to get people to engage with their products. Marketing for video games has always been a little strange.
Dark Master! Oh, I don't think so. Think you can take me? All right, how about it? Crusher?
Greetings, Fog Master. I'm Crusher, Master of Kung Fu. Master of Kung Fu.
More like Master of Monkey Poo.
It modeled a lot of their early attempts on how toys were sold to young kids, mostly boys. Back then, the main demographic was pretty clear. It was all frosted tips and high contrast color grading. Shit did look like a Linkin Park music video marinated in Mountain Dew. I mean, this was also why a lot of popular games back then had collaborations with junk food brands. Halo and Call of Duty famously included double XP codes with things like Doritos and Mountain Dew. Most of this advertising nowadays, however, is done via digital marketing. This is pretty much an umbrella term for any marketing that happens online. As we approach the internet era, a lot of the advertising strategies for these games pulled back from the teenage boy aesthetic and went for a more general approach. There's a reason why the last two generations of consoles were sold on the hub for your living room type vibe. Gaming has expanded from something of a niche audience into the current iteration where most people play games. Inclusivity and influencer marketing is the key nowadays to maximize reach. Now back to Easter eggs, I don't exactly think it's part of a company's marketing strategy to build the game around user-created content that goes on third-party websites, but I do think it's going that way. When a developer creates an event or secret that causes communities to get involved, a few things happen. The first is the discussion. This is effectively a type of social media marketing. The buzz surrounding the secret is visible and in the community consciousness. This goes a bit deeper than just some tweets, of course. Usually the discussion will start with a dedicated community before it's picked up by others. Following that, the content creators enter. Streamers and video makers jump in, with their clips and videos being shared widely. Assuming those pieces of content do well, it signals it's a successful story to chase. And that's where we have the news sites. Oh boy, the gaming journos. Sorry, I don't mean to discount gaming journalism too much here, but there is, like with all normal media, shall we say, a lazy approach? I'm talking articles that follow this simple template of 1. Explain the thing for a paragraph. 2. Show streamer clips and tweets talking about it. 3. Comment on the content creator's reaction. 4. Comment on the community reaction. End article. And then send it out to all social channels and promote the article to hell to grab some of those darn millennials. The point, of course, is that creating these cultural events surrounding big Easter eggs and secrets is how this happens. And more importantly, these things usually pop up after the initial release hype for the game has already occurred, which means we have this nice little popularity surge just as the game has already started to fall off. Equivalent ad revenue for media attention is a metric that most major companies will track. It's the reason that press releases have so much time and attention given to them. Believe it or not, most of the time you read about a major update from a company through a third-party media publication, you're reading a very lightly edited version of their press release. The market incentive is to get the story out as soon as possible, so this is expected. I mean, as a side note, half the trusted media publications you read today probably use a news organization like Reuters for the stories anyway. Leveraging media contacts and relationships is a key element in marketing. For evidence of this, we can just look at the review copy meta in games journalism today. But as we move deeper into the modern internet, however, independent creators are becoming much more valuable than your traditional online magazines. The audience is much more engaged with the streamer than IGN, for example. And if maintaining relationships with media was important, the modern version of this is maintaining a connection with content creators too. We all saw how Fall Guys and Among Us exploded in 2020. This was largely due to creators. While Among Us seemed to be a random explosion, the Fall Guys team were very proactive with the relationship building in many content circles. While their moment in the sun is fading now, it can't be forgotten how impactful this game was in the late summer of 2020. Where media relationships and Easter eggs overlap, however, is with the launch of Treyarch's latest Call of Duty release, Black Ops Cold War. Treyarch's COD games have been notorious in recent years for including these quite complex secret hunts and Easter eggs in their zombies mode. For this release, they sent major streamers a crate with a code-protected padlock. After receiving the code at a certain time, inside they found an actual Cold War-era projector, with slides containing a cipher to be solved by the community. This was a major pre-release event, perfectly hyping up the zombies community, and of course encouraged massive stream viewership, along with media publications covering the story and in turn promoting those streamers. The ecosystem has been created. At this point, secrets and Easter eggs are just a unique selling point of this Call of Duty Zombies mode. A lot of the story of zombies is gated behind these quests and these community-driven hunts for truth and knowledge. On top of all this though, there are a bunch of communities from tiny to large, subreddits to discords, trying to solve these kind of things. A good example is the World of Warcraft secret finding Discord, responsible for many discoveries, which I'm pretty sure has over 175,000 members. While not necessarily in-game Easter eggs, a lot of video games have made great use of the cross-media augmented reality games, or ARGs, to promote their product. From Halo 2 to Halo 3 and ODST, Bungie again made great use of ARGs to engage their fanbase. These were massively successful aspects of the marketing strategy. Even now, Bungie continue with their cross-media secrets with the Destiny universe, creating some of the more intricate secrets with every new expansion launch. Even well after the launch happens, with small content patches, they can kind of inject these into the game to reignite the fervor that comes with, figuring out a puzzle or creating anticipation for future content. This is especially important in live service games. Although right now, of course, I don't believe these things are solely used to push sales. But if the video game industry is to follow the same path it's been on, anything that drives engagement will be optimized to make more money. A while ago, I made a video about how the games industry makes addicting games that leave players feeling a little empty by the end. A large portion of this spoke about the modernization of the industry and how with the new dawn of analytics and digital marketing, companies know exactly what will make them money. Maybe right now, including Easter eggs and secrets, homages and references is merely a cool addition from a developer. But as we enter into a world where the crunch is the norm, as we move forward with the idea that games should only barely cross the line of being done, developer resources become gold dust. AAA titles will not dedicate any engineering time to a feature or an experience that is not going to offer a return. It could be cynical, but as mentioned previously, we've already seen marketing events and Easter eggs collide. A good example are the slew of nods and secrets that came into Fortnite with the Avengers crossover. A huge promotional collaboration came packed with tons of bits for players to find. And you can be damn well sure there were articles and videos to accompany it that fed off of each other and drove the ecosystem further. With the rise of companies getting into the in-game ad space, you can be sure to see more of this in future years. I'm not exactly sure what lies at the end of the road, however. I don't know how another income flow in an already super successful industry will impact it as a whole. You see, I'd like to think things would get better, and some of the revenue would trickle down to those actually making the games. But given what happened at Blizzard last year, I'm going to remain cynical. Easter eggs were born from the disdain held for corporations. They were ways for smart people to get back at those who had the money but couldn't make the product. It would be sad to see the very essence of this be twisted into a marketing campaign. But then again, it's all optics. I think as long as developers want to include these additions to their game, then I'm happy with it, as long as it's not at the cost of their personal lives or their family time. I suppose the big question left is, can we have these fun, nonsensical additions in games when they're so tightly managed to be finished on time these days? I mean, how often do developers really have to hang around and come up with cool references, especially when we see things like Cyberpunk 2077 go through such terrible crunch and development hell? Maybe the legacy of Warren Robinett is fading, but a part of me hopes that there are still young developers out there who want to keep his legacy going. And who knows, maybe we'll see something someday.